Okay, so it's happened. Life has changed in the States and you are ready to roll. I'm not going to tell you to slow your roll, but if you are planning to move and you have a chronic illness or you're managing a medical condition, you have got to add these things or carefully consider these things before you roll. I'm telling you, it'll make a big difference when you get to your other country, regardless of where it is. So, for those of you who are new to the channel, my name is Heather, hello, and my goal for this channel is to convince people who have chronic illnesses or who manage medical conditions that they can leave the US and get the care that they need overseas. Now, right now, because of the current condition, I know a lot of people were thinking about moving before, but things have changed and people are thinking now is the time to do it. And there are a lot of content creators giving excellent advice on how to leave the US. Stephanie Perry in particular, she is telling you how to leave the US and how to leave it quickly. But what I want you to do is do these things before you go. I made a little list and I'm going to go through it, and it's going to focus strictly on having healthcare set up for you in your new location. We're going to unpack it a little bit because people talk about doing it, but I haven't seen anyone really unpack it. And I'm giving you this based on my experiences of my friends, and some research. Okay? So let's start with the very basic. I'm going to glance away every now and then because I want to follow my list, because I want to put this information out there. It's important. At least I think it's important. Okay, so your insurance coverage. Will your current coverage cover you in your new location? Now that is a really broad question. It depends on what you have, what country you're going to, so many things. But I'm going to talk about a few basic things. So let's say that you are traveling with a tourist visa and you're coming to Mexico. In Mexico, you can get free health care, but you must be a resident. You must be temporary or permanent resident. So you have to travel with a credit card or some cash, right? Because even if you have, like I have, a global insurance and you're using a tourist visa, you're going to have to pay up front, and then you're going to have to go through their process to get reimbursed. I'll come back to that because that is not as easy as it sounds unless you have planned and done the legwork before you need it. Okay? So let's talk briefly about travel medical insurance. That's certainly doable. But again, that is a really broad thing. Know what you're buying. Know when the limits are for, if you have a pre-existing condition, you tend to have to get that waiver when you purchase the trip or when you purchase the tickets. There's usually a few days waiver, a 14-day waiver, but you have to read it. That comes down to, folks, don't just say, okay, I read a list of the best medical insurance. You need to read it. You need to know what you're covered for. You need to know what's not covered. You need to call these people. Don't go by a guess or just checking on the research or even what I'm telling you. You need to have your questions answered by the people who are going to do the payment if you ever have to use it. A lot of travel insurance is just for emergencies. You know, you sprain your ankle, something like that, you know, and they'll cover it. But again, you have to know how to collect the correct documentation in order to get reimbursed. Because, for example, when I file a claim, my first claim, it was a bit of a nightmare, folks. Because the claim forms sometimes are designed just for the US. And it has things that every doctor in the US would do, but a doctor overseas may not necessarily do. Okay? So, for example, a doctor in the States, there's a prescription, it's got your name, or there's a bill with exactly what got covered. You know, everything is covered. But in Mexico, you might not even get a receipt. You can ask for one, but they might give you one, and it's this flimsy little piece of paper with ink that I promise you, fades in a couple weeks, so you can't get a clear picture. So take a picture of it immediately when you get it. And the insurance company may require information that a foreign doctor may not necessarily put on an office visit. So you need to know to tell your doctor in your foreign country what needs to be on your paperwork so you can file your claim. And also take the timeline into consideration. It is much slower to get a claim filled overseas than it is stateside. And there are also things that you have to get pre-approval for. So folks, please, please, please read your insurance policy, know exactly what you need to do in order to get the coverage that you need. So I want to mention very briefly, Medicare will cover you for a one-time good deal emergency. It's very, very specific. Talk to them before you decide, well, I've got Medicare and they'll cover me. Because no, Medicare does not cover care normally overseas. So call them and find that out. So if you're using the VA, you can get VA coverage for service-connected disabilities. You can do it in Mexico and you can do it in Europe. But understand, your VA team needs you to let them know that you are traveling or doing whatever 4 to 6 weeks before you roll out of the country. And also, find who your point of contact is, your VA point of contact is before you go there. Because the clinics that they use may not be available in every city, in every country. You need to know that you can get the care you need in the city that you're going to live in or stay in for a long period of time, okay? So you can get coverage, but there are things you have to do before you can get it. And remember, it's only service-connected disabilities or medical conditions. Okay, so where are we going next? So if you're going to, let's say, come to Mexico and you're going to buy local insurance, you can do that. Absolutely, you can do that. But if you have a pre-existing condition, there's probably a waiting time before you can get covered for it, just like there's in the States, if they will even cover it. So do your research, find a company. There are consultancy firms in Mexico that you can contact before you leave and ask the questions and find out if you will be covered, if your particular condition requires a waiting time, but you can talk to them. And please do. You can Google it because I've done it and I found them. But you have to take the extra step and actually have a conversation with them. You can also contact doctors. Some people can't afford to do a scouting trip. I recommend it, and I recommend you going to see doctors on your scouting trip, but maybe you can't afford to do that. You can find doctors through Facebook, asking friends, but take the time to actually talk to that doctor. Find out if the medications that you need is actually available in that country. It's probably available under a different name, but you have to find out if that configuration actually will work for you. So you really need to have a real conversation. And if you're on a scouting trip, a real conversation with a doctor so you can realize if that exact care is available and how long it will take and what you need to do to line yourself up for it. My rheumatologist had to work with my global insurance for 4 months to get pre-approval. So I really want you to consider that. So now again, before I go on to the next thing, understand medical care is much more affordable in many countries overseas. In Mexico, you will pay $45 to $50 for a specialist, rheumatologist, nephrologist, cardiologist, whatever. But if it's a regular thing, like you have a cold or something like that, when I had a cold in Puebla a few weeks ago, I got a consultation for $4.60 and my meds cost $20. So it's doable, but you have to understand, you have to think, what happens if the emergency happens, right? Do I need a specialist? Do I need to have care within the week, within the month, or am I good and I'm stable for a bit? So you need to get the details, not just an overall idea that you can get care. Yes, you can, but I need you to know I can send a WhatsApp message, I can text, I can call this specific person in order to get what I need. Okay, so let's say you have medical coverage globally. Do you know how to fill out the claim form? I'm not kidding. That sounds really simple, right? Sometimes it's not. Sometimes I struggle to find the correct claim form. I had to call a number of people and get passed around and be put on hold. So actually, it might be a good idea to have a copy of the claim form on your phone, on your computer, in hard copy so you can take it into the doctor. The same for dental insurance. Okay, so we've talked about scouting and making contact. Okay, contacts. Do you have emergency contact information? I'm not talking about a friend that'll say, okay, yeah, I'll make a phone call for you. I'm talking real emergency contact information because let's say you are in Mexico and you are a resident and you're signed up for one of these free health care, because depending on the level, the lowest level, the one that has the least strength of service, they don't give you food, they don't change your clothes, they don't clean you. You have to have someone to come with you to take care of you. So you need to be aware of that stuff. It's not like in the States. Now, when you get higher levels of insurance, which I'm told is quite affordable, it covers that. So it comes back to understanding exactly what you're buying. So I think that covers most of it. So I'm going to do a quick rundown. Blank credit card, because you're going to have to pay up front, regardless of what status you're in. A tourist visa, residency visa, whatever it is, because you're going to have to pay, and then you're going to have to file a claim. Know exactly what insurance you're buying, what you have to do to be able to claim it, the timelines required if you have a chronic illness, and exactly where you have to send it, and who you're going to talk to in order to get things done. Know the specialist. Actually have spoken to the specialist that you're going to use. Understand how emergency care is handled here and how or if your insurance company will pay for it. Understand that Medicare is not going to cover you here. Know and be confident that VA will cover the things that it's covering you for service-connected disabilities overseas, but you have to be in the correct location. So folks, that's probably a lot of information, but I want you to know, by all means, move overseas. You will get the care that you need, but take the extra steps that you need to take so you can actually access that care without going bankrupt and know the people you need to talk to. So again, folks, good luck on your role. Do it. And as I always ask, how do you want to spend your health? Have a great day.